My younger self, what's your story?
To my younger self, what's your story?
To my younger self.
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 To my younger self. To my younger self.
To my younger self, what's your story? To my younger self, what's your story?
Well, hello and good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. It is so wonderful to see you. My name is Zoe Baraka. Of course, the show is To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from our past that will propel us into the future. Listen, do me a favor. When you come in, I would indulge your assistance in helping. Tell your friends that we're here. Tell your family members that we're here. Tell your friends who may have enemies that we are here and we're just sharing stories. Now, today, you kind of only have me, which is the original idea for To My Younger Self. So it's nothing new, right? But we're going to be doing some things together today. So you know how we always do, we always just greet each other from different parts of Africa, just saying hello to each other. Like we always say, we are communal people. We like to say hello when we meet each other. So when you come into the room, please do me a favor, go into the comment section and say good morning, say good afternoon, say good night, say hello, say what's up, say something to me in your local African dialect. I want to learn it. I want to be able to greet you in it. Okay, alrighty then. Let us go ahead and kind of just greet each other. Let's see. Before we do that, can I say happy belated Mother's Day? Indeed, this whole week is Mother's Week, if you ask me, right? We're celebrating mothers all through. So happy Mother's Day and happy Mother's Week to all of you who are mothers, those of you who are mother aunties, who are mother mentors, who have taken a lot of young people under your wings and are just mentoring them. Motherhood does not necessarily just come because you gave birth to a child. It comes in different forms, and we celebrate each and every one of you. We want to say thank you for joining us. All righty then, let's see here. Greetings to you if you speak Hausa. Barakada zuwa sanunku da zuwa yaya dai ka kwana lafiya. I really hope you slept well. It is very good to see you. Ya ken toma fudua wela. It is good to see you. I just greeted you in Hausa and also in Kusal. Ansuma to you if you speak Wale or Dabani. Indinao to you. Wezo Leke. It is wonderful to see you. I greeted you in Ebe, right? For those of you who speak the Ebe language from the Volta region of Ghana, anywhere you are in the world, really, I greet you. Etiseng Akwaba Unteden Yamawachi. It is wonderful to see you. If you speak Akan, I just greeted you, but also in just different variations of Akan, right? I just greeted you in Tree, Fanti, I believe a Chim, and other variations. So it is wonderful to see you. If you speak Zulu, I greet you, my friend. Sawubonani to you. Ibella to you. Ibiokibari to you. If you speak Moshi, it is wonderful to see you, my people in Burkina Faso. How are you doing? Te Oyo 10. If you speak Ga, I am greeting you. Lale to you. If you speak Chadian Arabic, Itiomafe to you. How are you? It is wonderful to see you. One of our friends on here, he always says, we greet you from the bottom of Africa, and he's referring to Chad, right? We greet you. A kabo to you, a karo to you. If you are Nigerian and you speak Yoruba, I greet you. Speaking of Nigeria, congratulations to Hilda Bassi. My goodness, what an incredible feat. Man, that woman stood on her feet for 4 days straight, cooking. Now, I like to cook, but not for that long. Listen, if I spend 3 hours in the kitchen on a given day, I'm beat. I'm done. That's the day that I would, go into the room and just kind of lay in bed for like days and days and days and go like, man, I cooked a lot the other day, and it's 3 days later. So for her to cook for 4 days straight, 100 hours and 40 minutes, that has to be, it was a power coming from somewhere. That's one. I saw her mother, just giving a testimony on a prayer platform this morning, and her mother was giving grace and honor and thanksgiving to God for helping her daughter, and just all the prayers that went into backing Hilda Bassi. My goodness, what a story. We were following it as storytelling mongers, right? And so I just want to say congratulations to you, my dear. Wow, wow, wow. And of course, not sometimes, every single day, I'm always saying that consistency and hard work will beat talent. Hilda had talent, she has talent, but her consistency and her hard work is what brought her to the forefront. She showed resilience, she showed strength and gumption, and she did it with so much grace and flair. Of course, congratulations to you, Hilda. Nagadef to you. If you speak Wolof, I greet you as my Senegalese people. Jambo to you, Habari Gani. Karibu Sana. If you speak Swahili, I greet you. Kotong to you, Amohelang to you. If you speak Sesotho, Inyasi to you. If you speak Bisa, Kotoli to you. If you speak Fofoldi and you are Fulani, I greet you. Akeyu to you. If you speak Creole, Bom dia to you. Bonjour, and buenos dias, of course, in Maraba. Welcome to the show. Like I said earlier today, let's see who is in the room first. Sandra, it is good to see you. Ocheko from Accra. Oh my goodness. And yes, greetings from sunny London. I am jealous. Actually, you know what? It's sunny here today also. The weather is a little tricky, It looks like it's t-shirt weather, and then you wear a t-shirt and it's not t-shirt weather. I'm not sure what to make of it. The weather is behaving like an ex-boyfriend who doesn't want to go away. I think that's what it is. Listen, one, we want to make our apologies to you. We had a guest lined up today who was very excited and happy to be able to come on and share stories. Unfortunately, there's some things happening in the background, and sometimes no matter how much you plan, no matter how much you're excited about a thing, some things, external forces will come around and you're not able to show up. And so we want to make our apologies for our lined up guest. He is not able to be here. And so today you kind of have me. I'm going to be pulling a Hilda Bassi. I'm going to be trying to speak for maybe 45 minutes. Just you and me. So listen, do me a favor, go into the comment section, and if you have a story to share, type it in there, okay, so I can read your story. But I also wanted to say thank you to our producers who are always scrambling when things like this happen. They're working very tirelessly behind the scenes from different parts of the world. We come together and band together, and they just do incredible things. And so what we have managed to do is, we've decided that we're going to honor mothers today. And I think I should try to break the Guinness World Book record too, right? By probably being the talk show host who spoke for let's see, Hilda Bassi did it for 100 hours and 40 minutes. I'm not sure who the longest talk show host, is on the Guinness World Records, but maybe I can try to go for 100 hours too, just talking about everything and nothing Africa. Now that'd be a feat to behold, wouldn't it? Alrighty. So what we have done is that we've pulled together some stories. Now, Maya Angelou, who we all know and love, most of us really know her and love her. She has been an incredible what's the word, inspiration to most of us, those of us who like to read and kind of just like to know about what's going on in the world and the arts and things like that. Maya Angelou has been one of our inspirations. She wrote a book titled Letters to My Daughter. Of course, in honoring mothers, we thought that we would share some of the insights in her book. And so this in no way, shape or form is going to bring us any money. We wanted to make that very clear. So Facebook understands that it's just one, to pay homage to Maya Angelou herself, may she rest in perfect peace, and to also just show respect for her work and to kind of just share each other's joys and triumphs and things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing, as you can see. And as we're sharing, I will also kind of be telling stories along the way, right? Because originally, like I'm always telling people, this is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be coming here and just kind of sharing stories, right? So what we did was we recorded some of the stories in Maya Angelou's book for you. And I have a test for you. If you can guess who is doing the reading in these voice notes, you get a prize, right? You get a prize, you get a prize, you get a prize. So let's jump in. The first one we are going to be titling A Lesson Learned in Time, or Raisins, okay, as it is in her book. So here we go. Just hang with us. Again, please go ahead and invite your friends. Just come in. I know today is kind of slow. It's not as exciting as it always is. But listen, this is what life is. In fact, we are living a story right now, okay? Because one day I can tell a story on another platform and say, hey, there was a time where we didn't have guests on the show, and I, kind of had to just show up and talk. The point is, we must keep showing up no matter what is happening. We must keep being consistent. We must show to the world that we are being consistent. You know what I mean? So here we go. We're breaking boundaries and barriers today, no matter what's happening. Alrighty. So introducing the absolutely incredible Maya Angelou, guys.
From Maya Angelou's Letter to My Daughter. Although I was living in the 20th century, I still held on to the 19th century fanciful idea of Arabia. There were caliphs and strong, sexless eunuchs and harems where beautiful women lay on chaise lounges, looking at themselves in gilded mirrors. On the first morning in Morocco, I went looking to soak up a little more romance to fit with my fantasies. Some women in the street wore Western clothes, while others kept themselves chaste behind heavy black veils. All the men looked jaunty and handsome in their red fezzes. I approached a junkyard and decided to cross the street before I was forced to look at real life. Someone yelled and I turned. There were 3 tents in the yard and a few black men were waving at me. For the first time, I realized that the Moroccans I had met earlier and expected to meet resembled Spaniards or Mexicans rather than Africans. The men were shouting and beckoning to me. I saw they were all very old. My upbringing told me I had to go to them. At that moment, I became aware that I was wearing a short skirt and high-heeled shoes, appropriate for a 25-year-old American woman, totally unacceptable for a female in the company of old African men. I threaded my way over cans, broken bottles, and discarded furniture. When I reached the men, they sat down suddenly. There were no stools beneath them, so they really did not sit. They simply squatted on their haunches. I was raised by a Southern grandmother who taught me it was rude for a young person to stand or even sit taller than an older person. When the men stooped, I stooped. I was a young dancer and my body followed my orders. They smiled and spoke to me in a language I could not understand. I responded in English, French, and Spanish, which they did not understand. We smiled at each other, and one man spoke loudly to a group of women who were standing nearby, looking at me with interest. I smiled at the women who returned my smile. Young, trained muscles or not, stooping so long was becoming uncomfortable. Just as I prepared to stand and bow, a woman appeared with a miniature cup of coffee in her hands. She offered it to me. As I took it, I noticed two things: bugs crawling on the ground and the men approving of me by snapping their fingers. I bowed and took a sip of the coffee and almost fainted. I had a cockroach on my tongue. I looked at the people's faces and I could not spit it out. My grandmother would have pushed away the grave's dirt and traveled by willpower to show me her face of abject disappointment. I could not bear that. I opened my throat and I drank the cup dry. I counted 4 cockroaches. Standing, I bowed to everyone and walked out of the yard. I held the revulsion until I cleared the lot. Then I grabbed the first wall and let the nausea have its way. I did not tell the story to anyone. I was simply sick for a month. When we performed in Marseille, I stayed in a cheap pension. One morning, I picked up a well-worn Reader's Digest and turned to an article called African Tribes Traveling from the Sahel to North Africa. I learned that many tribes who follow the old routes from Mali, Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and other Black African countries cross the Sahara en route to Mecca or Algeria or Morocco and the Sudan. They carried little cash but lived by the barter system. They swap goods for goods but will spend their scarce money to buy raisins. In honor and show respect to visitors, they will put 3 to 5 raisins in a small cup of coffee. For a few minutes, I felt I wanted to stoop below the old men in Morocco and beg their pardon. There, they had chosen to honor me with these expensive raisins. I thank God that my mother would have been pleased with my behavior. I began this lifelong lesson. If human beings eat a thing, and if I am not so violently repelled by my own upbringing I cannot speak, and if it is visually clean within reason, and if I'm not allergic to the offering, I will sit at the table and with all the gusto I can manufacture, I will join in the feast. P.S. I call this a lifelong lesson, for I have not fully learned it. And although I am no more or less squeamish than the next person, I have sometimes earned a flat F at the test, failing miserably. But I get a passing grade more often than not. I just have to remember my grandmother and those 4 innocent raisins which made me violently sick for 1 month.
Wow. Wow, wow. What a story, right? First of all, can we just talk about the cockroaches for a minute and the fact that they really were not cockroaches? And the fact that, yes, man, you know what, Juliet? You are not a part of this competition. You are not among. Why did you do that to us? But you are right. That is the voice of our producer, the Honorable Mrs. Elsie Dixon. Yes, I have added honorable to her long list of accolades, right? Yes, yes, yes. She graciously recorded this, and we intentionally left the flipping of the book and the movement of the hands and all those little sounds you heard in there. We left that in editing because it just gave the storytelling character, you know. And so hopefully you enjoyed it. But talking about I know, right, Sandra? Cockroach turned raisins or raisins turned cockroaches. Well, first of all, I think it's our mentality, isn't it? The fact that maybe Maya Angelou did not even think that there would be raisins in that part of the world to begin with. And so for her, the first thing she thought of when she gulped or swallowed her first sip was, cockroaches, and as I was listening to this, I thought about an event in my life where I definitely swallowed cockroaches. For me, it definitely was cockroaches. It wasn't raisins. So, and I don't know if you remember, those of you who lived in Ghana or still live in Ghana, we used to have a practice where when you open Ideal milk, the evaporated milk, right, you would tear off the little paper, a little piece of the paper that is used as the packaging, and kind of place it in the place where it was opened, and then put it in the fridge. And my mom would do that, but it looks like one of these times she most likely just forgot, or the paper had fallen off. And I used to do this thing when I was younger where I would take a look on my left and on my right, and if there was no one in the living room, I'd open the fridge and just drink the milk. And I was never caught until one day, as I opened the fridge, looking furtively around and kind of put the milk in there. There comes my mother, very stealthily, and stood right behind me. And unfortunately this time, and I don't know how there were cockroaches in the milk, but there were. And as I made an attempt to kind of spit it out, my mom said, she said it in Chi, and I forget, but obemini adiawe, something like that. And she forced me to gulp down the milk with the cockroaches in it, to teach me a lesson about taking stuff that does not necessarily belong to you. So, and I remember retching so badly after that, and never ever looked at Ideal milk quite the same way ever again. So just thinking about Maya Angelou and her raisins and cockroach story, I can imagine what her entire body must have gone through just thinking that these were cockroaches, and she was sick for a whole month. And I am just thinking about the power of the mind, and the fact that even though these were not cockroaches, they really were raisins. Her body, her mind, her spirit, her soul, all of it imbibed the belief that these were cockroaches. And because of that, her body reacted to it just like it would react to a cockroach. I dare say she must have even tasted it as though she was tasting cockroaches. The funny thing is, raisins are sweet. And so when you swallow it, something should tell you this is not cockroach, it's raisin. Anyway, I was just thinking about that. But the other thing that came up as we were discussing this was the welcoming nature of Africans, no matter where you are in the world. Here's an African-American woman, Maya Angelou, somewhere in Morocco, and she's wearing her skirt and her high heels and all that. Of course, the men, no matter where they are in the world, they behaved like men. All they did was they saw a woman in high heels and a short skirt and just proceeded to beckon her to come over. Now, they couldn't speak the same language, so even if they were making some snide remarks about how she was dressed or, clapping for her, she probably never really understood it. But the similarity is the welcoming nature of Africans, no matter where you are in the world. We are just welcoming. That's one. Two is the fact that it's the same in the African-American culture also. They're just welcoming no matter what or where they find themselves, right? And the fact that that upbringing of if an older person calls you or beckons you to come over, you just absolutely have to oblige. And the fact that the voices that come into our minds every time in whatever we're doing, right, in any situation, she was imagining her grandmother being proud of her for swallowing the cockroaches. She was imagining that this approved face of her grandmother if she hadn't been able to swallow it. all kinds of things going on in her mind. These are the power of words. And so we're just talking about the similarities, home and away. I'm also very conscious of the patriarchy system, right? The men, even though had no stools or anything like that, and the ground really was the space that greeted them, they still held power, and the fact that they called another woman to come into their space, but the women amongst their own tribe were in another circle somewhere, and they got to say to those women with a shout, go bring this other woman coffee. Anyway, that's just me just kind of doing a lot of conjecturing, but we thought what a powerful story to share in celebration and in honor of mothers. First, to Maya Angelou herself for just being an incredible person, because she could have just also developed an attitude like, hey, I'm here on either work, because she was a dancer and a musician at the time, and maybe when I leave Morocco, I'm probably never coming back. Or I don't necessarily know these people. I don't have to go over to them. My mother is not here to correct me. I'm 25 years old. I can do anything I want to do. So she really didn't have to even heed their call, but she did. Now that was something, right? And it shows that good training would always follow you no matter where you are in the world. If you're just well trained, you are. It's just that sign of respect, which kind of also brings me to another thing. I remember when I first got here, I was in Jersey at the time, and it was probably the first week or the second week. It was my first experience really getting on a bus in the United States. I got on the bus, and it was a full bus. And, everyone was kind of seated. And the way it is, they have all these, rails that you can hold on to, so that if it's, too full, some people can stand and hold on to that. And there was a stop. And then this lady who was pregnant just comes in on the bus. And I looked around. There were men there in the bus. There were children on the bus. And I kept wondering, why was no one standing up for this pregnant woman? I was so uncomfortable. And so immediately, maybe not immediately, I don't want to give myself too much credit here, but I think I waited for at least 3 or 4 minutes, and I realized, no, these kids on their phones playing whatever it is they were playing, and these men were really not going to be standing up for this pregnant woman. And so I had to beckon her to come take my seat. And see, because of the society in which we live in, she also didn't expect that anyone would do that for her. And so she just kept saying, no, I'm okay. But you also know that she needed to sit because she was heavily pregnant, at least 7 months pregnant. And that's what I'm talking about. Training would always follow you wherever you are. Because in my mind, just like Maya Angelou, I was thinking to myself, my goodness, my mom, if she was here, would give me, one, a smack on my head, and two, the look she would give me would tell me, if you don't stand up in this bus for this pregnant woman, you're in big trouble. And I could just see my mother's face, and I could just hear it. So can you share some stories about your mom in the comment section for me? Like little things that even though you're not around your mother right now, she probably has said some things or is doing some things or has done some things that just always remind you to do the right thing. Which is really essentially what Maya Angelou kind of did. And she must have had this aura around her that kind of just made people drawn to her, because there were other American people on the street, dressed in whatever way they wanted to be dressed in. But these men singled her out. That must have been some very powerful aura, right? And anyway, I'm going to stop here about this particular story. I think I probably kind of milked it way more than I should. And yes, Auntie Doris, you're right. My body following my voice, the power of the mind. Just one, she had her mind working very positively for her, and also very negatively for her. Like, Just to think about raisins as cockroaches, I am also thinking what I would do to myself if months later, after I've gotten terribly sick from thinking I had swallowed cockroaches, realizing, no, it was raisins and it was done in honor of you. They really loved you and respected you so much, they gave you their hard earned raisins. And you thought of it as cockroaches. I don't know. I would have felt a little some wavy, you know? Alrighty, we're going to move on to the second story, also taken from Maya Angelou's book, Letters to My Daughter. And so she titled this one Philanthropy, and I'll come back and we're just going to discuss what this particular one is all about. And so we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so.
Writes about giving to a person who is naturally generous reminds me of a preacher passionately preaching to the already committed choir. I am encouraged to write on because I remember that from time to time, the choir does need to be uplifted and thanked for its commitment. Those voices need to be encouraged to sing and sing again with even more emotion. Every single American giver keeps alive the American Cancer Society, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, Goodwill, Sickle Cell Anemia, American Jewish Society, NAACP, and the Urban League. The list continues to include church foundations, synagogue programs, Muslim temple associations, Buddhist shrines, groups, officials, city and social clubs. However, the largest sums of money come from philanthropists. The word philanthropy was taken from the two Greek words, philo, lover of, and anthro, mankind. So, philanthropists are lovers of humanity. They build imposing edifices for people to work in and to play in. They give huge sums of money to support organizations which offer better health and education to the society. They are the principal patrons of the arts. The mention of philanthropy elicits smiles, followed by the sensation of receiving unexpected good fortune from a generous but faithless source. There are those who like to see themselves as philanthropists. Philanthropists are often represented by committees and delegations. They are disconnected from the recipients of their generosity. I'm not a member of that gathering. Rather, I like to think of myself as charitable. The charitable say, in effect, I seem to have more than I need, and you seem to have less than you need. I would like to share my excess with you. Fine, if my excess is tangible, money or goods, and fine if not, for I have learned that to be charitable with gestures and words can bring enormous joy and repair injured feelings. My paternal grandmother, who raised me, had a remarkable influence on how I saw the world and how I reckoned my place in it. She was the picture of dignity. She spoke softly and walked slowly with her hands behind her back, fingers laced together. I imitated her so successfully that the neighbors called me her shadow. Oh, Sister Henderson, I see you've got your shadow with you again. Grandmother would look at me and smile. Well, I guess you're right. If I stop, she stops. And if I go, she goes. When I was 13, my grandmother took me to California to join my mother, and she returned immediately to Arkansas. The California house was a world away from the little home in which I grew up in Arkansas. My mother wore her straight hair in a severe, stylish bob. My grandmother didn't believe in hot curling women's hair, so I'd grown up with a braided natural. Grandmother turned our radio on to listen to the news, religious music, gangbusters, and the Lone Ranger. In California, my mother wore lipstick and rouge and played loud blues and jazz music on a record player. Her house was full of people who laughed a lot and talked loudly. I definitely did not belong. I walked around in that worldly atmosphere with my hands clasped behind my back, my hair pulled back in a tight braid, humming a Christian song. My mother watched me for about 2 weeks. Then we had what was to become as familiar as a sit-down talk to. She said, Maya, you disapprove of me because I'm not like your grandmother. That's true, I'm not. But I am your mother, and I'm working some part of my anatomy off to buy you good clothes and give you well-prepared food and keep this roof over your head. When you go to school, the teacher will smile at you and you will smile back. Other students you don't even know will smile and you will smile. But on the other hand, I am your mother. I tell you what I want you to do. If you can force one smile on your face for strangers, do it for me. I promise you I will appreciate it. She put her hand on my cheek and smiled. Come on, baby. Smile for mother. Come on. She made a funny face, and against my wishes, I smiled. She kissed me on the lips and started to cry. That's the first time I've seen you smile. It's a beautiful smile. Mother's beautiful daughter can smile. I had never been called beautiful, and no one in my memory had ever called me daughter. That day, I learned I could be a giver simply by bringing a smile to another person. The ensuing years have taught me that a kind word, a vote of support is a charitable gift. I can move over and make another place for someone. I can turn my music up if it pleases or down if it's annoying. I may never be known as a philanthropist, but I certainly am a lover of mankind, and I will give freely of my resources. I am happy to describe myself as charitable.
Wow. Wow. Well, first of all, let's all do something. Wherever you are right now, whatever it is you're doing as you're listening to my younger self, do me a favor and kind of just smile at somebody. If there's anyone in your area, smile at them. Just give someone a smile, even if it seems a little inappropriate. Just smile. All right, I was giving you a few seconds to do that. Yes, a smile is all it takes. And if someone says something to you or says a greeting to you, anything at all, the best thing you can do in your response is to smile. I never really thought of smiling as an act of charity until just recently. And Maya Angelou, she goes really in depth and she describes what philanthropy is. She even gives us the root word and the etymology of philanthropy, and she breaks it down and tells us about philo and anthropy and all of that. And she talks about imposing buildings that people who have excess money would put up because they have the money, and they would say, I have too much money, you seem to not have enough money, so here is some of my excess, which is essentially what really philanthropy on a bigger scale is, right? When you think about these imposing edifices like the UN building in whatever country you live in, or the Global Fund building, or the World Vision, and all those big organizations out there who are doing incredible work, by the way. So it's in no way, shape, or form a putting down of those entities at all. If anything, we're amplifying them. They're doing incredible work in places that a normal human being cannot go into. You know what I mean? Like what's happening in Sudan right now, a lot of us would want to help in any way we can, aside from prayer, but we can't be there physically. And so maybe we give a little donation to Red Cross, to Salvation Army, to the UN, to somebody or an entity that is able to do it on our behalf. That is philanthropy. We do it through church when we pay our tithes and all that stuff, because it goes out to do even bigger things. But Maya Angelou breaks it down, this art of philanthropy, even more, in that the simple art of smiling is bigger than anything else. I guarantee you, if somebody with all of the money in the world kind of just arrived in Sudan right now and brought all the food and everything, but didn't have a smile on their face, the reception would be a little different, wouldn't it? That smile is a thing that opens doors. Now let's talk about that ending right there, where she says she had never heard anyone refer to her as daughter before, or that she was even beautiful. Can you imagine this beautiful woman, Maya Angelou, not thinking of herself as beautiful? I tell you, what mothers say to us as daughters, especially, is so heavily important. For those of you who've been on this platform as long as since we started, I think one of the very first stories I shared was about something my mom had said to me when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, which kind of followed me all my life. Until maybe recent years, when affirmations and positivity and of course the grace, mercy and love of God has broken all of those defenses. But when a mother says certain things to you, it is so powerful. It is so powerful. And I just kind of doff my hat off to Maya Angelou's mother, who kind of just took time, one, to study her daughter. For 2 weeks, she studied her child, and then decided, I'm going to have a sit down, a one-on-one sit down with this child of mine, and I'm going to tell her some things. And now I am thinking about Maya Angelou. She was one of the people I was hoping I'd get to meet, but I'm thinking about all the smiles she just gave to the world so willingly, all the way up till the end. There's a video I saw of her, and it must have been Talib Kweli, I think. I hope I'm saying that name right. And in that whole video, all she did was smile and smile. They were talking about cooking and going to Africa and all kinds of other things they were talking about in that video. But the most important thing I remember about Maya Angelou is her broad, wide smile. It just warms your heart. And so I guess today a mother's advice would be to walk around with a smile, especially on the days when you don't feel like smiling. And those days will come. I tell you, they will. When you don't feel like smiling, just smile. A smile is probably one of the best things you can give to a human being. Is better than money, because when you smile at someone and they intend feel good about themselves, it has a ripple effect, doesn't it? And it could probably bring that person way more money in eventuality than you would ever think. I mean, again, think about Hilda Bassi. Can you imagine all the smiles that were being poured to her, all the people that went to the site where she was doing the cooking, everybody there just was filled with smiles. She was just embraced and hugged with smiles and cheering on. She had to succeed. She just simply had to succeed. Yes, Auntie Doris, a smile is better than money. And Auntie Doris says here again, the words we speak, their spirit and they are life, especially the words that a mother will give you. When a mother gives you words, they are better than gold. And so for those of you who have children under your wing, I have this thing that I do, or I try to do. I try to not let a child feel like they're just part of the furniture. So that when I meet a child in any given space, I make sure to mention their name and single them out, even if I'm just saying hello to a group of people. I will say hello to the group of people, but I will mention the child's name, and I'll say Sandra or Ikia or, Sumaya. I will mention the child's name, and then I will address them as an equal, and I'll say, how are you? How was your day? And I'll say, what are you doing? Because I realized that when I was growing up, my dad did the same for me. And it made me feel visible. It made me feel wanted, and that I wasn't just a child who needed to be seen but not heard. It made me feel like a human being. But then I remember my dad doing that with a smile. He will say, good morning, and he will mention my name. I'm not going to tell you the way my dad says my name, but he will mention my name and he will say good morning and he will have a smile on his face. It's so important that we do this for children. Even if you don't have any kind of influence on the child at all, when you just meet them on the street, if you know their name, mention it and then give them a smile. It is very important. You don't know how far that can go. You can put clothes on the child's back. You can do everything else. But if you're not doing it with a smile, you're undoing half of your work. Do you see just how deep a smile can go? And she says no one had ever called her daughter before. Can you imagine that? Which kind of makes sense. She was living with her grandmother, and obviously she knew this is my grandmother. And so she would refer to her grandmother as grandma. So she really had not had a mother-daughter relationship yet. But thank God she did, because look what that yielded. A powerful woman, incredible woman, the same woman who went to Morocco, who was in Marseille, who was in Paris and Africa and all those places, just spreading her charity of smiling, Lastly, I'll share one story and we'll be done. When I was in Ghana, I went to the National Film and Television Institute, and I think it was in my last year, I had the opportunity to come to the United States to do a very short film with the National Black Programming Consortium in collaboration with PBS out in Mississippi, Jackson. It was my first time I was traveling, to the United States then. And my mom and I, we had, a little bit of a rocky relationship. And so my friend Benjamin, who was in the same class as me, we were the two that got selected to come and do this film. I think it was on Emmett Till and all other things. And it was titled 10 Days in America. It was a fabulous, incredible project. And so as we were leaving at the airport, my family was there to say goodbye to me. Benji's family was there to say goodbye to him. Benji's mom was there. My mom was there. Now, what I remember having a little bit of a tiff with my mom that day. So we weren't necessarily on good talking terms even. And at the airport, my mom and Benji's mom began to talk, as parents whose kids are about to, get on a plane and go to far, far, far away United States of America. And of course, we didn't even know that Jackson, Mississippi was in the South. We had no orientation whatsoever. We were just young African filmmakers. And it turns out Benji's mom had a conversation with my mother, which she later told me. So my mother apparently told Benji's mom that she was very, very proud of me, and that amongst all of her children, I know Auntie Doris far, far, far away, in my mind at least then. But Benji's mom tells me the story of how my mother tells her she's very, very proud of me, and that amongst her children, she most sees herself in me, and that I am one of the kids. I'm the child that is just a go-getter, and that she is not really worried about me anywhere in the world. I will make it, and that I am so resourceful just like her, and that no matter what is thrown at me in life, I always, always make the best of it. Now, the funny thing is, my mom didn't say this to me personally, at least not at that time. Eventually, she did say it a few weeks before she passed. She actually did say it. But at this point, my mom had actually never voiced that to me. And so we came back, and I had gotten on very good terms with Benji's mom, and so we would talk a lot. By the way, Benji, I'm going to do a little cut of this video and send to you because I want you to send it to your mom. So I started to talk to Benji's mom frequently on the phone. We were very good friends. I've lost that friendship. I need to revive it. And she said to me, and Benji's mom was very, very hilarious. She knew my name had an R in it, but she would always just put an L there just to crack me up. So she would say Balaka, just to crack me up. And I would just be on the floor laughing and laughing. She says, and I was complaining about my mom one day to her, and she says, but your mom really, really, really loves you. She absolutely is so proud of you. And I kept saying, what do you mean? She says, well, I haven't told you this, but this is what your mom said to me on the day that we saw you and Benji off at the airport when you were going to Mississippi Jackson. And she said she was very proud of you. She says amongst all of her children, she really does not worry about you. You are just like her. You've got spirit. You will survive anywhere in the world. And, she added all these things. And gosh, I remember just sitting in that and just imbibing it and saying, wow, my mom said these things about me. Do you know, every time life throws the worst things at me, I literally just say to myself, I am my mother's child. I can survive this, and I will survive this because of those sentences. So you know what mothers do for us. And I remember during, I think it was Hurricane Katrina or Sandy, which one of them happened in New York? I get them confused, but the one that happened in New York, and lights were off and people were panicking. They were like, oh my God, we don't have cooking. We can't cook our food. We can't microwave it. This girl, I was bathing with my cold, cold water. I wasn't even worried about heating my food at all. I just ate whatever I could. I survived. And eventually when I got on the phone with my mom, she says, you're my child. I was not worried about you. A little light off and the fact that you can't cook a little food, you'll survive. Can I tell you how very excited I was to hear my mom say that? Because I did that. I did that. And so just circling back to the gift of a smile. And today, one of my best memories of my mom is of her sitting in a sofa in our living room back in Accra and the biggest smile on her face. It was one of the first times I saw a smile rise up out of my mom so beautifully. She was radiant. The smile, the gift of a smile. Maya Angelou just said it so much better. And her mom said it even better. That smile, knowing that it will make me happy. Wow. And can I just say welcome to all of you. Seti says, oh gosh, I am extremely late today. Woke up late. Morning fam. It's all good. Sometimes your body just needs it, Yes, and oh, thank you. Mama is right. Yes, no matter what is thrown at you, Producer Elsie says, how we speak to our children becomes their inner voice. Can I tell you, it is so, so, so true. How we speak to our children becomes their inner voice. And I cannot emphasize this enough, that just hearing my mom after that hurricane saying to me, oh, I wasn't worried. Actually, my dad said that too, but my mom's voice was the bigger one in my head. Oh, I wasn't worried. And then I remember her saying, oh, as for you, even if we put you on the desert in Burkina Faso, you'll find water. Oh my God, can I tell you? I just beamed. And it's at the back of my head. The things mothers tell us. We're just here celebrating mothers today. And just, for those of you who came in a little late, I'm pulling a Hilda Bassi. She did it for 100 hours. I'm going to attempt to do it for only an hour today. But you all know, if you leave me here, I can talk for more than 100 hours. Honestly, I really can. And maybe I should try to set that record. Seti says, she really was proud of you, Zoe Baraka. You should have heard how she spoke about you. out of your presence. Really? See, you haven't told me that, Seth, because you're one of the few people who knew my mom. So now I feel like I owe you a call and that you're going to tell me some of the things my mom told you so that I can hear it. But thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's see. And producer Elsie says, good morning, family. And you know, producer Elsie, somebody whose name shall remain nameless. The moment I said, let's play a game, guess the voice, she just put your name up there. I was a little upset. No, I wasn't. But you know what I mean. She got it right. And so I want to say thank you to producer Elsie for just rising up to the occasion. Like I said, you don't always get what you want, but you always must show up. And you always must be consistent in life. And so when our guest, was not able to make it today, producer Elsie rose to the occasion, recorded the video, the audio, and we just kind of put it together, and here we are. And honestly, I was worried. I said, what are you going to say for 45 minutes? Can you believe it's 55 minutes and we're going strong still? Yeah, I need to break that Guinness World Book of Records. You had no other reason to fail after that affirmation. No, seriously, Auntie Doris, you are right. I really had no other reason to fail after that affirmation. I really didn't. And I still think I have no reason to fail after that affirmation. When a mother stands and tells her daughter, especially her daughter, I am not worried about you. You will find water in the desert. It is a form of a prayer and a form of confidence and a form of affirmation that just builds strength of character. So that no matter how low you go in life, you know, even in that lowness, you will find something. And can I tell you, I literally wake up every morning saying to myself, I am resourceful. I will find that which I need. And every time I feel like I cannot go a step further, when I take a deep breath, let time pass a little bit, I always rise up saying, I can do this. I really can. And so can you. So please, mothers, take time out with your daughters. Take time out with your sons. But since it's Mother and Son Day, and, we're talking about women and, Maya Angelou and her mother and the gift of a smile and all that, I think we should take special time out with our daughters and kind of speak into their lives, because life will throw some things at you. It is not unavoidable or that you can avoid it. It's a fact. It's a fact of life. Whether we like it or not, there will always be some times when you feel like life is fighting against you. But in those moments, your words as a mother will be the thing that keeps your children going. And so today I have done 57 minutes and counting. I'm so proud of myself. And thank you so much for just hanging in there with us. And guys, what I wanted to say concerning next week is, one, you do not want to miss it. We're going to be having Nakai with us from Ghana, and she'll be sharing some stories with us. I don't want to give her away at all, but we have a great lineup coming up in the next couple of weeks, and you definitely, absolutely, definitely do not want to miss it. She'll be here sharing some incredibly powerful, groundbreaking, generation-breaking stories, and you do not want to miss it. Auntie Dory says, deep, keeping it close, I will find water in the desert. Yes, find water in the desert is one of the most powerful things my mom has said to me that I keep very, very close to my heart. And the fact that I'm a desert girl myself, because listen, when you grew up in the North or you were born in the North, you kind of know what desert looks like, especially if you've traveled that stretch between Ghana and Burkina Faso and you've seen the Sahara. Then you know what a desert really looks like. And I have done that many, many times. And so thinking of finding water in the desert is so profound, because I remember us having to take water with us on those long stretches and how the water would literally melt in the bottle. It was so hot. So yes, you're absolutely right on that, Auntie Doris. So next week, do join us. I do want to take time out to say thank you to everyone that worked really, really hard. Sedi, thank you for your hard work, for trying to get us our guest. To our guest who was not able to make it, we know that you really did want to make it, but just time and circumstances didn't allow you to. And we look forward to when time does allow you to be on, and we'll be happy to have you on to share your stories with us. To Elsie, thank you so much for rising to the occasion so quickly, so fast, and recording the audio, and just giving us, ideas. Elsie is just filled with ideas, so filled with ideas. And so we did a great job. Thank you so much, guys, for just helping us on a weekly basis. Of course, to Emmanuel Sorgo, to Uncle Yidana, to Sumaya, to all of you who are doing incredible work on To My Younger Self's behalf. Thank you for mentioning our names in rooms when we're not there. We truly, personally, I truly do appreciate you. I want to say thank you to everyone who kind of just helps and donates and just gives us resources. Auntie Jane Fiorito, I want to say thank you. Auntie B, I want to say thank you. Deacon Shara McFarlane, I want to say thank you. Auntie Araba, thank you. Mr. EKD, thank you. Mama Rose Machayo, thank you. There's just so many of you that I can't continue to mention them. It's just so many of you. Yes, she really is the bomb diggity, isn't she? And listen, I'm going to hold you to that word. You will get him on. I know you will. I'm going to hold you to that word. And what else is there to say? I'm trying to do a lot of housekeeping now. Right. So as I always say, it's kind of redundant to come on here and talk about mothers, talk about Africa, talk about the communal spirit, and not support Africans. You know what I mean? And so today, I just want to tell you again to just put your money where your heart is. If your heart is in Africa, put your money there. If you can pay just a little extra money to give the business to an African, I'd rather you did that. In that spirit, we encourage you to support these businesses. And I'm trying to find my cue card. I promise you, I really am. Oh, Zoe, what did you do with it? Here we go. Where Ghana, of course. Humanity Chat by Margie Marge. Kua Designs by Ruby Bua. Music for Your Quality Feet. Clatural M. Sims by Mabel Simpson, our dear friend. Ryle by Design, coming out of New York. Avonzige, my little beautiful cute mentee. Keys and Credo by Nana Sapo. Horseman Shoes, Caveman Watches. There's just so many of you. I really just want you to put your money where your heart is. And don't leave it just here at these names. You know what I mean? Anywhere you meet an African, bless them with a smile. In the city where I find myself now, there's just such deep connection in the African community. I'm so proud of them. Wherever you go, when you see an African, they literally just take time out to acknowledge you. I really love that. And so let's keep doing that for each other. And let's keep telling our stories. It's very important. And Baraka has successfully done 1 hour and 3 minutes, right? Can we break some records? Talking by myself for 1 hour and 3 minutes. Woo! Yeah, I did it. Listen, this has been To My Younger Self, where we tell stories from the past that propel us into the future. We'll be back next week with Nakai telling us some stories out of Accra, Ghana. It is wonderful to be your host, facilitator, story curator on To My Younger Self. And we look forward to bigger things and higher heights. And to everyone that plays episode producer every once in a while, we want to say thank you. Oh, I was just reminded. One of our dear friends, Tina Grace Kufor, is doing a marathon, a 5K marathon that she would like to invite people on. And honestly, we forgot to load the video. So we're going to do that next week to show you what all of this is about. But she has an NGO called Fit USA that helps immigrants from all around the world fit in the United States. And this project is so important to me only because when I first came here, I really wished that there was an organization or an individual who was not out for themselves to look out for me. I dare say I would have had a little bit of a better life by now. And so Fit USA is a very important project. And Tina would like to invite you to go on a 5K walk or run with your friends, and then also to donate to the Fit USA project. And next week, we will be telling you more about that and also the Masterpiece project. Okay. All right, guys. Again, my name is Zoe Baraka. The show has been To My Younger Self. Today, I have been flying solo. So yay. We'll see you next week with our guest. Have a wonderful day. Again, remember, consistency, showing up for yourself and for the people around you will always pay off. It is way, way better than talent. Consistency and hard work always beats talent. I love you. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Israel, kama Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Kaja Ikushima, wanime kona me waja shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Waja gay, waja shong. Manchester, Sumanguru, walk where they get, waja shong.